Hey everyone, Britta Albert here. If this is your first time here, I am a transformational life coach, and my goal for this channel is to help you overcome the obstacles that are standing in the way of you living your best and most authentic life. Today's video is going to be a little bit different. It's something that is very close to my heart. Today we're going to talk about mourning the loss of a loved one, and specifically my story. Almost 13 years ago, my mom and my 10-year-old brother passed away in a car accident. It was sudden, and we didn't get to say goodbye. It was a time in my life where things were really getting dark really fast. I had just gotten pregnant with my first child. I was planning my wedding, and I really wanted my mom. I've talked about my mom and my brother's death so many times, and even more I've talked about their lives. I still cry. I still miss them. And I would still give anything to hug them. But when is it a healthy mourning? And when is it holding you back? It's so hard for us to draw that line because it's such a deep wound in our hearts. If you've ever lost somebody in your life, you know that it's not something that you ever just get over. There is no getting over it. And if you've recently lost somebody, I don't mean that in a way to cause you despair. You don't want to get over it. You don't want to forget them. It's not a just forget it, you never think about them again. It doesn't work that way. They had an impact on your life. They loved you and you loved them. When it comes to mourning the loss of somebody, it is so important to allow yourself to feel the emotions, to allow yourself to be present in those emotions, as uncomfortable and awful and all-consuming as they are, especially in the start. If you try to suppress them, you try to distract yourself, you try to tuck them away to deal with them at a later time, it's going to hold you back. Now, sometimes we don't have the luxury to sit and be in our grief, but sometimes we don't have the luxury not to, because the cost of what we carry down the road is so much greater. It's gonna come up at some point. You can deal with it then, or you can deal with it later. That much is up to you. So how do you know if you're mourning in a healthy way? Well, I can tell you, everyone is gonna have an opinion. People are gonna tell you, you should mourn this way. You should talk about it. You should go out and you should be around people. You should get rid of your stuff. You should sell your house. You should. Everyone's gonna have an opinion. The only thing you should do is what you feel like doing. If that means that you should go into the closet and hold a pillow and scream into it, that's what you should do. If it means that you want to get rid of their stuff, then that's what you should do. If it means that you want to be around people, then that's what you should do. If it means that you don't want to be around people, then that's what you should do. The only time where it's really going to be an unhealthy mourning is if you pretend that it didn't happen, or if you pretend like you're not feeling the emotions that you're feeling. Now, sometimes we can do this unintentionally. Sometimes the pain is so great that our minds will literally take over, and they will stop us from feeling, or not really feeling, but they'll stop us from experiencing something in the moment, or recognizing that we're experiencing it. So as you go throughout the years, as it gets easier, as you smile again, as you laugh again, because you will, make sure that you check in with yourself and ask yourself, are you holding yourself back from living in any kind of way? For an example, I did not realize that my fear of flying had anything to do with my mom and my brother's death. I knew it had to do with control. I could tell you that much, because I wasn't in control of the plane. So therefore, I had fear. I did not realize that I was afraid of experiencing what my stepdad experienced. I lost my mom and my brother. My stepdad lost his wife and his child. And now, I'm a mom myself. And there was so much going on at that time that I didn't put two and two together to realize where these fears were coming from. I knew that I had my first child and I was fiercely protective. I felt that mama bear come out in me for the first time in my life. And if you've met any first-time mom, you'll know that that's completely normal. So why did it take me almost 13 years to realize that the source of a lot of my anxiety and fear had to do with my mom and my brother's death? Because it was hidden. I buried that so well. I started having a lot of anxiety, more than I'd ever had before, except for one time. And it was right around the time when my mom and my brother died. I was pregnant with my son, and I had just gotten married. It's the only time in my life I can remember that the anxiety was that bad. And I just had all these kinds of thoughts coming into my mind. Thoughts that I knew weren't true, but they put me in a place of being helpless, of being powerless. And all of these fears came into my mind about losing my kids, being powerless to protect my children, having to live life after losing them. Why am I thinking about these things now? Why is all of this coming up inside of me? It was terrifying. But if you watched my last video about silence, I bet you can tell me why. They're coming up now because this is the first time in almost 13 years that my life has been secure enough, that I have been safe enough, and things have been settled enough for it to be safe for them to come back to the surface, for me to process them and release them. And all of that anxiety, it showed me through the help of my amazing coach, friend, mentor, teacher, Veronica. She helped me get over a place that I was stuck. So I'll give you an example. Say if I had a fear that the world was going to end. I was getting stuck in the fear of the anticipation of the whatever event that was going on in my mind. I was so afraid of what might potentially happen that I was just frozen in that fear. And Veronica asked me, okay, so if that were to happen, then what? Then what are you afraid of? And I realized I hadn't even gotten that far in my mind. I never even allowed myself to go further, to speak the unspeakable, to voice my fears. I felt like if I said what I was afraid of out loud, it would intensify it. In reality, fighting those thoughts and pushing them away and not allowing myself to go further perpetuated them. So, in not allowing myself and scolding myself for those fears and that anxiety, pushing it away, burying it, refusing to think further, I couldn't get to the root of where this was even coming from. And Veronica asked me, then what? Well, then what? What if something happened and there was a global extinction? Then what? Well, then I'm afraid of not being able to protect my kids. Okay, so you can't protect your kids, then what? Then I'm afraid of my kids dying. So your kids die, then what? Then I'm afraid I can't go on. So you can't go on, then what? I'm afraid of taking my own life. So if you take your own life, then what? And ultimately, I was afraid of essentially going to hell. Not necessarily in that vernacular, but it's essentially the way that it was panning out. But it came from powerlessness, helplessness, hopelessness, the inability to do my core job as a mother. Now, where did that come from? And how does losing my mom and my brother have anything to do with that? Well, like I just said, it was seeing what my stepdad had to endure. And he is still around to this day for us kids and for his beautiful new wife. I can't even fathom as a parent what that would be like. I don't want to. The other part of that is how quickly we lost them. I had just gotten off the phone with my mom. A couple days prior to that, we had picked out my wedding dress together. On the phone, we were talking about what photography package I wanted. It was the day after Valentine's Day. And my 10-year-old brother told me on the phone how he had given his crush a candy bar. And she was so excited because she liked him too. 2 days before that, I had just moved to South Carolina. My family was in Oregon. I made sure to see my friends. And verbatim, I justified it by saying, my family will be around forever. But this is the last time I'm ever going to see my friends. I really believed that. At 18 years old, I really believed my family would be here forever. So when I hung up the phone and realized, when it really sank in, and I realized that I would never hear their voices, that I would never talk to them again, something happened. Something happened to my belief in reality. My concept changed. My foundation shattered. And as I began to heal, well, we'll get to that. As it became easier over the years, as I became a mother, as I became a wife, as I became a mother for the second time, and as I got divorced, as I learned to be strong, and I learned to work hard, as I learned what I was capable of, and I learned I was worthy of love, there was still a part of me that did not feel safe and did not feel that the ones that I loved were safe. Because of that, I've been holding myself back from so many things. But here are 3 truths that I learned. I said I wanted to heal. To heal means that I'm wounded. To heal means I am not whole. But I am whole. Something happened. My mom and my brother passed away. But that does not make me less. I was sad and hurt. But I am not wounded. And therefore I am not in need of healing. The second truth that I speak now, I used to walk around and say I am broken, that a part of me was fractured. I am not broken. I am not fractured. Everything I need is already inside of me. I am whole. I am complete. And I lack nothing. The third truth is that I am one. I am one with everything and everyone. I am not alone. And I never have been. And neither are you. So I know this video is a little bit different, but I hope in hearing my story, it encourages you to be present in the emotions. Give yourself grace. Love yourself. And remember, you are whole. You are not broken. Thank you so much for joining me today. Again, if this is your first time here, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button and also hit the bell notification so that you always get notified of my future videos. Y'all have a great day. I'll see you next time.